They're responsible and liable just because the person was driving drunk and broke the law and then hit them.
If you're hurt in a car crash with a drunk driver, could you have a case for a lawsuit? And who do you turn to? Well, we're going to answer those questions right now on this episode of Ask the Lawyer. Here to help me out is Ohio attorney Michelle Martin. I want to remind you, if you want to ask Michelle any questions of your own, just go to askthelawyer.com. Click the button at the top that says Ask a Lawyer. Walk you right through the process. Doesn't cost you anything to ask questions. Or you can simply call the phone number you'll see on the screen while we have our conversation. Michelle, it's good to see you as always. Thank you for making time to help us.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to speak with you. I enjoy these meetings that we have.
So someone's in a car crash. They suspect, or maybe they know the other driver was intoxicated. What should they do? What's your advice to them?
Well, that's a really good question. Initially, of course, you're going to want to call the police. Anytime you're involved in an automobile accident and it's not on private property, you want to get a police report. Even if no one is harmed, or even if you feel that, nothing's significant has happened,
Right.
you still want to make sure you get that footprint because you never know what can happen down the line. And so here with the drunk driver, a little different, but not so much, right? Because what you're going to want to do, make sure you're a part of the investigation and potential prosecution of the tortfeasor, the person who hit you, if they are drunk, if they were driving drunk. Additionally, you may want to mention that to the officer, because what I've seen sometimes is that the officers don't do a thorough enough investigation if they believe that there may not be, some foul play or drunk driving. So if you can maybe bring that to the officer's attention, I think that's a really important thing to do. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you call the police and mention that. Oh,
now, when it comes to making insurance claims, is that different? Does it change things if it was a drunk driver?
Slightly. At the end of the day, if you are the victim of an automobile accident and the tortfeasor has caused you injuries and caused you damage to your personal property, of course, you're entitled to compensation. If you're hit by someone who is driving drunk and you let the insurance company know that this person is driving drunk, then of course he's a more culpable party. Sorry, I couldn't get that word out. There's more culpability from someone who's driving drunk. And then, of course, the insurance company needs to know that because a lot of the times the insurance company, they try to attribute some negligence to the victim. And so when you have a drunk driver, it's less likely that there's going to be any type of negligence that can be attributed to you as the victim. Additionally, driving drunk is illegal. So it's negligence per se, which means they're negligent they're responsible and liable just because the person was driving drunk and broke the law and then hit them.
So I think some people get confused, maybe, Michelle. So let's say the person is charged with DUI. The injured person might think, well, the prosecuting attorney, whether it's a DA or whatever they call it in your area, they'll be representing me in this case, and that's how they'll be looking out for me. Explain how that works and why that's not the case.
Thank you. That's a really good question. So here in Ohio, and specifically in Franklin County, we have the Columbus City Attorney's Office who would handle these type of matters. And so it is the prosecuting attorney here. And the Columbus City Attorney, the prosecuting attorney, represents the state of Ohio. And so a lot of victims believe that because the prosecutor is bringing these claims against the tortfeasor, that they are also, like you said, representing them. However, in these types of incidences, there are 2, sometimes 3 different types of cases that are going to be running parallel. So you're going to have the criminal case, which is the driving under the influence. Depending on the way in which the traffic stop was initiated, there may be a traffic case as well that the prosecutor is going to handle, but he's only handling those 2 matters as it relates to the harm that was done as society or the state of Ohio as a whole. And so he's going to, of course, pursue the criminal actions.
Right.
And that may or may not result in some type of restitution, but it definitely is not a guarantee that you'll be able to recover for your medical bills, the loss of your personal property, as well as your lost wages and your pain and suffering. So, yeah, he's fighting on behalf of society or, Ohio, the state of Ohio as a whole. So he is on your side. But you need someone who is going to be tailored and specific just to your case. Additionally, that can focus on the civil portion of your case. That's the criminal portion.
So someone like yourself who is a personal injury attorney to handle the civil portion. The other question I would have is, do people need to wait until after the criminal case is over before they start the civil case, or can they happen at the same time?
So they can actually happen at the same time, and they should happen at the
Okay.
same time. The reason being, you don't want to delay your civil case waiting to see what's going to happen with the criminal case. There's evidence that can start to disappear. There are witnesses who can begin to forget. And then at the same time, you're also treating, you're treating for your injuries, assuming that you have significant injuries. If you don't have any significant injuries, you still want to get your car fixed. So you want to start that process moving so you can get your life back on track. When the criminal investigation and prosecution is taking place, there are limitations to certain evidence that you can have access to because there is an ongoing criminal matter. However, if you have a knowledgeable civil attorney that can work well with your city attorneys, the prosecutor, they are able to open those lines of communication to kind of see what's going on with that evidence, what's going on with the case. Is there anything that I can do to help, either case propel further to help the client to receive the optimum result?
What if, for whatever reason, the client's found not guilty of drunk driving or maybe the case dismissed, whatever? Does that affect the civil case? Does that mean you may not still have a civil case?
Great question. So that's one of the reasons you want to make sure you get an attorney, because just because that case may be dismissed or the person may plead to what's called a lesser included offense, sometimes we see that here as a reckless operation or like a moving violation.
Okay.
And so I do see a lot of clients get discouraged because then they feel, oh, well, does this lessen the value of my claim? And so it does not. If you have an attorney that can, argue the initial merits of the claim, the initial driving under the influence charge, what that means as it relates to the investigation, and then they can also use that information in the civil trial. So just because the person isn't necessarily convicted, it doesn't mean that information can't be used in the civil trial. So it's really important to make sure that, you get an attorney, because if the person is not found guilty, or they plead to a lesser included, you don't want to just throw your claim away, because it's potential that they have no bearing on one another when it comes to how the prosecutor chooses to plead or try cases.
Perfect. Lots of great information. Michelle, as always, thank you for making time to answer our questions.
Absolutely.
Takes care of this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Ohio attorney Michelle Martin. Remember, if you want to ask her questions of your own, go to AskTheLawyers.com. There's a button at the top that says Ask a Lawyer. You click there and it'll walk you right through the very simple process. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal for Ask the Lawyers.